Hello everyone and welcome back to the JustNabz podcast with me Nabil and
Nabila, hi.
hello and welcome back. I hope you had a good week.
Yes.
How about you, Nabila?
Yes, I did. I am great. I just got a new kitten, so I'm a
Congrats.
mama again, and I'm gonna be super busy. But yeah, and
Right.
you?
Quite fine. I've been struggling with sleeping as of late, but yeah, I think quite good during the day.
You know what advice I'm gonna give you? The one I always give you. Try
Meditating.
meditation. Last night I fell asleep so quickly into that meditation.
Really?
Yeah, it was manifesting your soulmate.
What's that?
A meditation called Manifesting Your Soulmate, and I fell asleep halfway. So, I'm going to be single for a while because I can't even manifest that without falling asleep.
Right. So does that mean that since I have a girlfriend that's going to keep me awake from sleeping?
No.
Isn't that a counter effect?
No. There's different types of meditations. So, like you get
Right.
meditations for sleep, meditations for positivity, meditations for manifesting things that you want, like success or, things that you want to achieve in life. And
Food.
I was like, let me give this manifesting my soulmate a shot because clearly this man is lost. And yeah, anyway, so I'm gonna have to try it again because I fell asleep.
I'll need that. I went to bed like last night. I went to bed like around 1:30 a.m. and I literally couldn't sleep. So I got up around 2:30 a.m. I literally spent an hour, and I've been reading this book by Bill Gates, How to Avoid the Climate Disaster. And I was reading it, and it kind of brought me some sleep. So yeah, I said, you know
Was
what?
it boring or
No, it's quite
just
good. It's quite good.
comforting?
No, it's comforting. And so I tried to sleep, but I couldn't. Long story short, I fell asleep around 5:30 a.m.
Jeez,
So
I was just going
yeah.
back to sleep after eating.
It's been an unproductive night.
This middle of the night eating thing is just not for me, hey? Yo. Anyways, but speaking of sleep, I have to tell you this dream I had the other night.
Oh yes, go on.
So, I had a dream that
About me.
you were in it. So,
Right.
so I had this dream where I was in a bookstore at one of the malls here. But it was a combination of two malls that I know. Yeah, it was kind of weird. And it also looked like my friend's backyard. Anyway, so I was in this bookstore and I was browsing for books because I have been looking for books in real life as well. So if anyone has any recommendations, feel free to recommend some good books. Anyway, so I was looking for books in my dream and suddenly I saw some people weren't wearing masks, some people were wearing masks. I don't know if when you dream, if you're dreaming of people with masks now since COVID started.
Never. I'm grateful of that.
So I've started dreaming of people with masks. But anyways, in this dream, some people weren't wearing masks, and I was like, oh, is COVID over? Anyway, and then I saw someone wearing a JustNabz podcast mask.
Oh my lord! And was it me?
No, it wasn't you. And it was just some random dude. And he was wearing this mask and it had our logo on the front. And I was like, oh my God, I need to tell Nabil. And I was like, I messaged you. And I don't know what country we were in or like where you were, but suddenly you appeared. And you were like, oh, this is so cool. Like, we should go over to him and tell him who we are.
Oh my lord!
But then I don't think we
Yes.
got to greet him. And then this wild rhino appeared and it was trying to attack me. And I was just like, this is some
Wild
James and the
rhino.
Giant Peach shit right here.
Is this like a South African dream? Because I don't dream of rhinos.
Probably.
I can have
It's a
dogs,
South
cats,
African version of a dream.
birds. Oh my God, yeah. I mean, of course, I'm flattered to be in your dreams. But yeah, I would say we should make some masks, but I reckon we're not going to use them for too long now.
Hopefully not. Ugh, I'm still waiting for the go-ahead for vaccines here.
Hmm, really?
It's, yeah,
When are you?
my medical aid did send out an email to say, giving the whole process and protocol and all that. But right now it's just for medical medical workers, frontline
Uh-huh.
staff, and over 60s. So I still have to wait a bit. Have you had yours?
Not yet. I think, given the forecast for Italy, I'm going to get my first jab around July if things go well. Otherwise, it's September.
Okay, cool.
Because
So that's
I'm
soon.
not going to be here during August. So if they call me during August, I'm going to get so mad, but I can't. So it's going to be either July or September for me. But my mom is probably getting vaccinated
Oh, nice.
on Monday. Yeah.
Oh, very nice.
I said probably because I'm not well informed about her, but she's getting vaccinated on Monday, I assume. Yeah, she's she's a bit scared of the AstraZeneca vaccine because she's had in the past some issues and she fears those blood clots. But all in all, unless it's AstraZeneca, I think all is going to be good. So yeah.
Yes, hopefully that all goes well. Um,
We're pumped. We're pumped really to get back to normal.
I know, but what is normal now?
Yeah, indeed.
It's scary what's happening in India. I know I've always been like, oh, India is such a shit country, but I mean
Yeah,
that.
of course.
But that's where my roots are, and I kind of feel bad now. For the people. I mean, it's been a long time that the government have been messing up, and he's not been the best
I
leader.
hate Narendra Modi.
I wasn't going to mention names, but yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
do.
Also, he is Islamophobic, for one.
Mm-mm.
Yeah. And yeah, he's just let it escalate to this point where India is just suffering. I think it's every few minutes a lot of people are dying. I don't want to throw out numbers. I did check a few minutes ago before we started recording, but old age and my memory. Yeah, it's sad. And yeah, so I started thinking about how, I don't know, sometimes I always just randomly go off and wonder in my head about alternate timelines. And I'm thinking, I was like, any one of those people could have been me. I was like, imagine if my grandparents, not grandparents, great grandparents hadn't left there. Like, what would my life be like? Do you ever wonder that?
Oh, I do indeed. But I've come to terms with the fact that since I do believe there are alternate universes, I do believe that in those alternate universes, people are thinking, what if my parents went to Italy, for instance?
So you believe that you exist in another universe?
I do, and that is not a good news for others. But
I feel sorry for the
I mean,
people in that world also.
Yeah, me too. But
I
I
wonder if he
think,
started a podcast as well. Maybe he's a nicer version of
yeah,
you.
so if you, yeah, of course, if you take into account that there might be an infinite number of universes, it means that there's a billion and a Nabil doing a podcast about, I don't know, having sex
About
constantly.
about Nabil in another universe.
Exactly. a Nabil who lives in South Africa, and a Nabila living in Italy. So everything is possible. But all in all, I do think about that. And do you think that, let's say, COVID apart, do you think if your great 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 grandparents didn't live and left India, you'd be in a better place or in a worse place? It's hard to say, of course.
It's hard to say, but I'd probably say worse.
Okay.
Yeah.
And would that be because of a social, economical position, or rather a like a cultural one? Because
Are
I
we talking
personally,
about, see, we're talking about colonized India, I definitely would have had a shit life there.
right? Let's no. Colonization is over, so it's 2021.
Okay.
But you're not living in South Africa. You're living in India.
But the thing is, I don't think they would have left if they weren't colonized.
Hmm.
Yeah. So, okay, so we're talking about a non-colonized India. I think I'd have a good life. I'd probably be married with 2 children by now.
Oh my.
It would have been like a set-up marriage. And I'd
So that's
probably have an accent. I probably wouldn't be speaking English, to be fair, because, it wouldn't have been colonized. But I'd be
all
happy,
right.
I think.
I don't know. So when I think of it, so I'm 100%. My DNA is 100% Moroccan. So I was born in Italy, but both my parents are from Morocco. So I'm 100% Moroccan, as a matter of fact, biologically. But of course, I was brought up here in an Italian community. So I wasn't even brought up in a Moroccan community here in Italy. So my thing about me, and I think here comes the whole point of this episode, is I feel like I'm kind of a stranger both in Italy and in Morocco. So there was this one of the best novelists of the 20th century, Albert Camus, who wrote this book, The Stranger, L'étranger, and he talks about this. He talks about this character in the book. I'm not going to spoil anything, but the whole gist of it is that he constantly feels like being a stranger both in Algeria and in France, and France colonized Algeria. Algeria was colonized by France at that time, and it's kind of the same because when I'm here, of course, my name is Arabic, and I reckon my skin is very light, but my name is Arabic, and I speak Arabic, and everything. My culture is purely Arab. So if you come to our house, it's more Moroccan than Italian. So here in Italy, I'm not properly Italian as anyone would define it. Same goes for Morocco. When I go to Morocco, as I said, my skin is very light. I have a very strong accent when I go there, so I'm not. Anyone can spot the fact that I'm not natively Moroccan. So I feel like a stranger there too. And I think that's the whole thing that's been going on in all my life, is I kind of feel as a stranger in both countries. So I wanted to ask you whether you feel like the same, or whether you feel like 100% South African, given the fact that your generations came here far before ours.
So for me, I feel at home in South Africa. Like, this is my home. This is, if this country had to go to war, I'd defend this country.
Would you
That
go to
kind of
war?
vibe. Would
Would you
I
go
go
to
to
war?
war? I'd go to war for South Africa.
Voluntarily?
We'll see if it ever happens.
Yeah, I don't
Anyways,
think I'm
but
going.
I'm very patriotic to South Africa and just Africa in general. I'd say I'm very protective and get defensive over the continent, as you may have heard in previous episodes. And I don't feel the same way for India, so I don't consider it home, but I feel like a part of me, wants to embrace as I'm getting older. So when I was young, as a kid, I was always embarrassed to be Indian. I would always like
Mm,
try and hide that fact, and like tell people I was something exotic, like, well, exotic in inverted commas.
mm-hmm.
I'd tell them I was like Spanish or like, some European country or some island or the other.
Huh.
I'd like try and hide my Indian heritage. But now as I'm getting older, I feel like I want to embrace that part of me. But our culture has been so diluted.
Oh,
It's like now we are Indian South Africans, like as if that's like a, I don't know how to explain it, but it's very confusing. Like,
I get it.
yeah,
I get
sometimes I
it.
feel like when people talk about, say, native South Africans, people whose ancestors were born here, like if they talk about this country and their experiences, I feel like I can only partially relate, and I want to
Mm,
relate to them, but also I know that I'm not from here, so I can't actually have full say in the matter. Like
mm,
some things
I,
like I just can't comment on. So I just stay out of conversations where I'd be like, oh, but my da, da, da. Like if I make it about me, they're like, but you're Indian. And then I
mm,
feel like if I talk to Indian people, it's like, yeah, but you grew up in South Africa, so what do you know
mm,
about our struggle?
I get it.
Anyways, it's
Have
like a
you,
limbo, but I identify like fully as South African, but
mm,
I'm
have
trying
you
to
ever been to,
embrace my Indian side as I get
have,
older.
have you ever been to India?
Nope. Because
Mm,
I told you, I was like, I always like, India, it's
mm,
like
I
this,
get it.
and yeah.
I
But
used to,
apparently, it's like some parts of it are really beautiful.
I used to do the same, to be fair. I used to kind of hide my Moroccan heritage. Um, Up until, no, it's not lately, it's like 6, 7 years ago, I think. Is that when I started getting closer to my Moroccan heritage. And to be fair, as I said, I was born and raised here in Italy. But if I if I had to choose to which country I'm most patriotic about, I think I choose Morocco.
Okay.
In some ways, because I think so. Italy is not paradise, right? So it's not the best country in the world. But it gives some, since I was born and raised in this European environment, I do have some expertise, let's say, which I would like to bring back to Morocco, to have Morocco get on level with Europe. And I think that the whole Africa, the whole continent, I would like to see it rise and get on level
Mm.
with with Europe. Because if you take Asia, for instance, Asia is not on level with Europe. So the thing about Asia is that it has this singular superpowers like Russia, China, Japan, India, for instance, in some ways. But then there are many other countries which are just left back.
Yes.
Africa has at the moment the potential, if it gets together, if African countries bond together, they have this potential of growing all together on a similar pace, even though there are many inequalities from country to country. But it has this potential of growing all together and rising and being on level with Europe and the United States in a far future. So I would like to see that. That's why if you ask me like, which country do you feel yours the most, I would say Morocco. But don't get me wrong, I get triggered when someone talks about Italy
Yeah, yeah. I
because
know
it's my
that.
country. It's like having two countries. It's hard to choose. If I had to choose, I'd choose Morocco for the reasons I've said. But all in all, I'm very patriotic about both of them.
Yeah, but I think I'm more patriotic just towards South Africa. I think
Of course.
we've been here 4 generations now.
Hmm.
So definitely. But yeah, it's
Oh God.
just, often think about it and I'm like, yes, so like if for example, during apartheid, we Indian people were not given the same rights as white people were, but at the same time, they weren't treated as badly as black people.
Hmm.
And our community were taught, or here and in India, they, created the class system where darker people were seen as lower class or black people were seen as less than you. And I think like my parents were like, oh no, we were so happy. Well, not, yeah, not my parents, my grandparents. Oh, we were so happy during apartheid. And I'm like, but how can you didn't have it, half the rights that
Hmm.
white people had? And they're like, no, but we were still treated better than black people. And I'm like, that's so unfair that, Indians were brought to this, well, came to this country, were allowed in, and then they get treated better than people who were born here, were raised here, their ancestors, you know, founded
Hmm.
this country, and Indian people come in here and get treated slightly better than them. I mean, they were
I do
still
agree.
shoved into shitty areas, where the factories were, and half of Indian people suffer from asthma because of that. And but yeah, it's still like,
You know, it's kind of, it gets tricky. So if you take now, this is a phenomenon which you might not feel as we feel it here in Europe, but we have this little issue which is it's not an issue, like it's controlling immigration, and we've been having these waves of immigrants coming to Europe, and apart from all those right-wing hogs, the whole argument has been revolving around, yes, they come here and we should give them a home. And is there a way we can integrate them? So I wanted to talk about integration just a bit. So integration is not necessarily a good thing. Everyone talks about integration as a good thing. I do not think it's a good thing at all, the way it's spoken of. So for instance, let's say I'm Moroccan and I come to Italy. We have different cultures. So integration, as it's usually defined, is trying to find a contact between my culture, so adapting my culture to the culture of the country I'm living in, which means, like, for instance, renouncing, not doing certain things because it's not part of the culture of the country I'm in. So for instance, if I go out, if I say in Italian, God is great, everyone is okay. If I say it in Arabic, which is Allahu Akbar, everyone associates it to a terroristic view or something. So integration, a part of integration is not saying Allahu Akbar out in public, but I should be allowed to say that. So the thing about integration is, the risk is kind of deleting and cancelling part of our cultures just to live in another country. The way I see it is, every single person should be able to have their own culture in any country in the world, as far as they can respect the law of the country they're in. So, for instance, I have Ramadan and I wake up at 5 a.m., let's say, to eat. Proper integration would be not proper integration is just waking up at 5 but not making too much noise, for instance, because not everyone is Muslim here. So when you speak of integration in general, bear in mind that yes, we should push for proper integration, but without forcing people to give up on some aspects of their culture they do want to hang to.
also
So that's a bit tricky.
I find that people don't want to actually leave their countries. They
Hmm.
leave because they have no choice and they're forced to. It's the same in South Africa, but other Africans get treated so badly. in our country. Like they get accused of stealing jobs and the government doesn't take care of them. But like how bad does the situation have to be in your country that you leaving that to be treated
Mm.
like shit in another country?
Of
But
course.
you talk about Africans leaving Africa for Europe. So I understand, okay, they come to South Africa because it's a lot cheaper and easier. But I feel like if problems weren't being created by European countries in African countries, the people wouldn't, be forced to leave. So it's like um, the UK helping fund raids in this country or sending military into a certain country, and now those citizens are forced to leave and flee. The only place they're going to go to is Europe because they've shown a better life there. It looks all rosy. And so I think the problem is not with integration. Like people don't really want to leave their countries. It's because they have to. And so the main issue for me would be don't interfere in other countries. Don't cause
Uh,
problems in countries that are going to make matters worse, that people are going to have have to up their lives and leave.
so I I do agree, but I fear that the argument would. So the way I see it is, I completely agree with your vision, but the way I see it is even wider, which means that yes, I'm Italian. So Italy, for instance, has not invaded Syria at any point.
Mm.
So if a Syrian refugee comes from Syria and comes to Italy, whether Italy bombed Syria or not, that refugee, as a human being, has the right to have a place in
Yeah,
Italy.
definitely.
Anyone who comes, be it Chinese, Vietnamese, American, if they want to flee the country, if unless you're of course a terrorist or something, but you should have the right to live in that country. So my parents, they left Morocco not because there was war in Morocco or anything, but just because there were more possibilities in Italy rather than Morocco. So that's why they came here. So the way I see it is, any refugee is welcome, even though we didn't invade that specific country. Those citizens are free to come, should be free to come and to settle, and we should be free to give them. We should be able, and we should do our best to give everyone a possibility, an opportunity to try to have their shot. Everyone deserves a shot in life. So that's the way I see it. I do
Yeah.
agree with
But
your
also like
vision.
European countries should hold other European countries accountable. If you see another European country funding a war in Syria, why do you just close your eyes and like, okay, no, let's not get involved in their politics? Like, you need to hold them accountable. Like, I'm not going to trade with you or allow this if you do this.
So it's a bit trickier than that, because here in Europe we have this. The European Union is was born as a federalist. We wanted to become a federalist union like the USA, the United States of Europe, but we're not there yet. Which means that certain countries can take action even without other countries. So if you take the USA, for instance, Texas cannot go and bomb Morocco without California wanting that. So it's the United States that goes and bombs Morocco, for instance. But here in Europe, it's not quite the same. So France. So if we take Libya, for instance, on Libya, there was this huge meeting where Italy voted against. So we were against bombing Libya because we knew the problems we would have later on, which we're seeing today, both instability in the country and the immigration flow coming to Europe. But France, with Prime Minister Sarkozy, he took his jets and brought them to Libya, and he bombed the country without Italy wanting that. Now, Italy cannot say, okay, I'm stopping any kind of trade with you, because that's not how it can work. It will make the whole situation even worse for us, for instance. So the way I see it is, yes, of course, no one should be invading anyone else, but that seems like a utopia at the moment. That's why, for the time being, I I think every single citizen of the world should be able to flee the country and to get a refugee status in the country they go to. So when someone comes to Europe and they come to Europe, to Italy, for instance, or to Spain, they should be taken from there and brought to any country in Europe, and they should be given a chance. So it's not just Spain or Italy that are in this kind of mess, but it's every single European country collaborating to give all these people a chance to be able to build their life here in
You know
Europe.
what's my ideal world? Like just living off the land and just everyone. First of all, I hate the fact that you need so much paperwork and there's so much admin to move countries. I want to be able to like just pack up one day and live in one country and then move and live. Because, okay, I'm no, like, I have this nomadic
Hmm.
streak in me that I like to move around.
You'd be a perfect European because we have this Schengen thing, and you can just take one train and go to
Yeah,
France, to
that's what I
Germany,
like.
to
But now the
Spain.
fact that I'm
Yeah.
African, I'm gonna have to do all the paperwork to get there and then get a job, and it's this the startup cost is not feasible for me until I build like a huge capital to move. And also I don't want to do it alone. So yeah, that's
Hmm.
why I was trying to manifest my soulmate so we can be nomads together. But anyways, like I just like to move countries and just like live like in a nice place here, there, and
Mm,
everywhere, and then like not worrying about taxes and bonds and mortgages and all these big words that I hate. I just want to
that's
be
life.
free and
I get it. Um, so on that side, I think we will reach that one day, but especially when governments will start separating freedom of movement of people from the movement of capitals. So I can refuse to trade goods with one country, but I cannot refuse to have those people coming into my
yeah.
country. So the whole visa thing, yes, it was like it was essential when we were in this world full of wars everywhere, and we're still kind of that, but it's not World War II, is it? So I'd say that I would like to see the European model where we can, like with Schengen, we can go wherever we want in Europe, within the European Union, without having any passport or any visa, or we don't have borders, or we don't have borders, but we don't have barriers. Um,
Like I found like
that's what I
traveling
want
to
to see.
Turkey for me was a lot easier than
Hmm.
traveling to the UK. That was so much paperwork and they screen you and ask if you are a
Let me
criminal.
tell you this. Let me tell you this. So Spain has two colonies in northern Morocco. They're just two or three cities. So for a Moroccan, it's harder to get into one of those cities literally by bike. It's harder than going to Hong Kong or to
Oh
South
yeah, no,
Korea.
definitely. That's the same in Palestine, where it's
Yeah,
harder for
exactly.
them to travel to one city to the next because of all the
Mm-mm,
checkpoints.
indeed. Oh. And by the way, since you mentioned apartheid, I'd like to say that apartheid is not just one thing that happens in South Africa. Yes, South Africa is one of the places, but apartheid happens in other places, and it's still happening. As a matter of fact, the Human Rights Watch just declared that Israel is doing apartheid against Palestinians. So when you hear about apartheid, yeah, of course, we have the whole South African history. No one is going to
Wait, say
believe
it
that.
again. Apartheid.
Apartheid, oh, sorry.
Wait, how do
But
you say how
anyway,
do you say it?
apartheid. Oh,
No, it
it's,
was
yeah,
just
look.
interesting to hear it like that.
lost in translation. Yeah.
Anyways.
But bear in mind that someone else is doing it. And to be fair, I'm seeing very little coverage. So everyone, when we study the whole Nazi Germany, for instance, or fascist Italy, everyone is like, well, yeah, it happened, but how come all the people were silent? Those who were at home were silent. Well, you know what? You're silent yourself. Many people I do talk about this kind of stuff. And I don't hear you being so vocal about Palestine, for instance, or about Muslims in China, the Uyghur population. So we're all silent, to be fair, and we all focus on the things that make so much noise. So if something happens in the US, it's big, and the whole world turns to the US and looks at it. But at the same time, the very same things, and even worse, are happening in another place, and the whole world
I think
seems,
apartheid in Palestine is a lot worse than South
of
Africa. I
course,
mean, South
I
Africa
think, I
was
think it.
really bad, and this is even worse. I mean, they bombed Israel bombed Palestine a few days ago, few couple weeks
Hmm.
ago, and there was
No,
no mainstream media coverage.
absolutely,
Every year in
absolutely.
Ramadan, they get bombed.
Absolutely. And I would love to see one day every single country cutting ties with Israel.
Same. That's one
But to
thing I
be fair,
want. Like, I just
yeah,
want to see a free Palestine in my lifetime.
I don't think it's ever going to
I
happen, to be fair.
know. I know
Yeah.
it. Positive thinking. I'm gonna
Of course, right.
manifest freedom.
Don't manifest boyfriends or soulmates. Manifest freedom for Palestine.
Yes. Okay.
If it works, we will all be grateful to you. Well, it's been a great chat. I've had so much fun.
Yeah, I
I
need to do some work on myself, like, get in touch with my roots properly and
mhm.
work on just anything. Yeah, like just I need to establish an identity, and I feel I'm getting to that point. I'm a South African Indian woman.
Hmm.
That's my identity. Yeah, and I
Well,
just not gonna be embarrassed about it anymore.
yeah, exactly. You should never be embarrassed
I am
about your
going to
roots.
heal the
Mhm.
scars of my ancestors' past so that my children
You
have
might
a
you
better
might uncover
future.
something. Yeah, you might also uncover something really, really, really interesting as well.
I always find, like, when you talk about things like this, some white people get very uncomfortable when you talk about things like apartheid and bombing in Palestine and your sufferings your struggles as a person of color. And for white people, just get really quiet sometimes when you bring it up. It's kind of funny to see.
Hmm. Indeed, indeed.
Or you get the ones that
Well,
accuse you of being racist towards white people.
yeah, that's
Or
my
they're like, oh, that's a
favorite.
bit harsh. I'm like, yeah, 500 years of slavery and colonization is a bit harsh. More than 500 years.
Mm-mm. I think all in all, the UK is not given enough mud for what they've done in history. So everyone talks about the US, and of course, yes, uh, but the UK, if
Oh,
you take
did
it
you see
from a his,
how angry people got when people started celebrating and making jokes about what's that dude that
Prince
died?
Philip.
That guy, when he died. People were getting proper defensive. It was so funny.
Hmm. I mean, I I didn't ever say anything. I didn't make jokes when he died. I do understand those who made jokes and everything. I had never made jokes. I didn't even get defensive about him because I don't know him, so I don't really care. Um, but at the same time, I didn't make any jokes. I think out of respect, but even though it's not due or anything, so I
It
just don't
was
care.
not.
That's
I
the
was
whole thing
like,
about it.
yeah, I'm like, I don't care. And also, it's why do you still have a royal family that are
Oh,
still
look,
upholding all these values and still a symbol of all these atrocities that happened in the past? Just let it go. Choose
yeah,
freedom,
it's not. It's not. I mean, it's democracy because that royal family, that monarchy in the UK is not doing much, is it?
I
At
understand
the
like
same,
some countries have royal families who actually put in the work, but I don't think
no,
anyways.
it's the royal family in the UK is a business nowadays,
Yeah.
and as a business, it's even harder to get rid of, because I think it's $1 billion business, the royal family, and also from a stability point of view, it's it would be really hard to get rid of the royal family. So it's not as easy as people frame it sometimes. It would be a process which would take
They make it seem
a
hard.
hundred
Like
years.
they've made it they've created that system such that it would be difficult to
Exactly.
break them down, basically.
That's why even when the whole thing about Meghan Markle happened, I said yes, that is despicable. But if you think that this thing is going to bring down a family that's been ruling there for centuries, then you might be a bit delusional.
Yeah, their
That
whole
would
system is built so that it would be difficult to take them
mm,
down.
exactly. So if you take even
The
from
same
a
with
low's perspective,
capitalism.
ah, if you take that was a low shot,
I had to
but
add that in.
if you take for instance just from Low's point of view, I think that the Queen of England is also the owner of the whole Canada, for instance. Now, no one will care about that. So if she goes there, I don't think anyone will care about that. But the whole system, how it's legally built, it means that it's a bit hard, especially for the Commonwealth. It will be a bit hard to get rid of the royal family. That's just
This
my
is what I
opinion.
find so unfair. How come some people in this world get to travel freely and be above the law and do whatever the F they want, and some people can't? And some we are bound by laws and we're restricted and we have paperwork to fill out and we have to work for our money. And no, everyone should be allowed to live freely. That's my philosophy.
But yeah, of course. I think we all agree on that.
Timon and
Mm.
Pumbaa, they shaped my views on this.
I love the light. That was my
That was
favorite
my favorite movie as a
cartoon.
kid.
Yeah. Which one? The first or
The
the
first
second?
one.
Yes, the first one for me too. But
The second one is underrated.
I yes, that's what I wanted to say.
It's I also really enjoyed that. But the first one was my favorite. And the
Yeah, of
soundtrack
course.
is a masterpiece.
Oh my lord, Elton John did an outstanding job on that.
Hans Zimmer as well. Genius.
Indeed. Wow. Well, anyway, it's been a great chat. I hope you had fun, or if you have any point of view you would like to share on this whole
Yeah.
thing,
I think
just feel
as our
free to message us.
podcast, goes on, this is our 21st episode. We've made it into the 20s, the big 20. I think as we go on, we will start to make sense of our identity. I mean, this is always going to come up. Make sense of our. That word sounds so weird.
Identity.
Sense.
Mm.
Do you ever get that? Like sometimes you talk and you're like, this word sounds odd.
You might have some problems.
Anyways, as we go on, we'll start making sense of things. And, we just started off and exploring topics that are playing on our minds and we want to learn more about and get a feel of. So, yeah, we are excited for you to join us on this journey of growth and self-discovery.
It's an enthralling one, and I'm so pumped and so honored and humbled to be one of the people of this journey.
Yes. 1,
So
2. This fast is getting to me. It's almost time for me to break my fast.
Oh, what time are you breaking
which
your
is why
fast?
my brain is probably a bit floaty right now.
What time do you break your fast?
Just after 5:30.
Oh, so half an hour to go.
Yeah, at
Good.
the time of this recording.
Wow. I have to wait until 8:15, something like that.
Oof.
Yeah. Well, anyway, have an amazing weekend. Take care, and
Yes.
we will talk to you next week. Cheers.
Bye.
Bye-bye.